Welcome, welcome, welcome. Susan Lazar Hart here, your congruency coach for creatives, for seekers who are asking to live in choice of their life, their living, their self-care is what we're talking about this month. And I'm kind of excited by the response I've been getting and the questions that have been coming in. And the question that came in today was from Nona. And she asked, Susan, could you talk about incorporating self-care into the everyday life, into, you know, give me some examples. And so as today, thanks so much, Nona, as today is centered on emotional self-care, that's where we're going to be playing. So for those of you who are just catching up, what is self-care and why does it matter? Hey, Laura, welcome, welcome. Hey, if you're coming on in, tell us where you're from. We have an international community here. I'm so excited to just begin, can you tell? To begin this session. And please come in with your questions. This is not a dialogue or monologue, it is a conversation, and it's about asking Susan, what is it that you'd like to transform with your ways of caring about you, right? Hey, Needy, welcome, welcome, welcome. Again, tell us where you're from. I'm so glad you're coming on in to say hi. No lurkers here. Come on in. You're all welcome. So what is self-care? Just as a little reroute from last week. And why does it matter? I think it matters to me that this is straight. It's making me self-care. Cool. So self-care includes all the things you do to take care of your well-being. And basically it's divided into 4 dimensions, or I'm playing with it in 4 dimensions. Your emotional self-care, that's your heart, your physical, your body, your psychological, what and how you think about what's going on in your life, and is that caring of you, and your spiritual health. And it's not about religion as much as it is your spirit, right? Your spirit. Hey, Margot, welcome, welcome, welcome. So, you know, if you're a seeker and you're a creative, and you are, if you're on here, a helper or a healer or a person who just gives a lot of yourself in service to the well-being, learning, and growth of others. And many of us, I am not now, in that sandwich generation where there's the kids, the grandkids, and then there's the parents. You might find yourself stretched in ways that actually don't feel good, right? And that we're going to tap into that today. So yeah, who's ever in that situation, I just got it from you. Thanks so much for that energy. So self-care and the care of others becomes a balancing between recognizing what is being asked of you, what brings you joy in creating with others, and taking time to rest, reflect, replenish, and renew. So once again, imagine your self-care is in 4 different quadrants of well-being. Mind, which is the mental physical, body, which is the physical, heart, the emotional, and spirit, the spiritual, the essence of you. Now, close your eyes for a minute as you're listening to this and picture yourself walking around a circle that has 4 quadrants and stopping in each one to reflect on it. So this week we'll be unpacking emotional self-care. Which one of those is tugging at you? Emotional self-care, again, is caring for yourself from the core of you, from your heart. Now, towards the end of this, I'm going to be giving you 7 practical tips you can use to ensure you're checking in on your emotional side every day. And thank you, Nona, for that question. Susan, give me some examples. I'm coming. So emotions are energy in motion. Right? You know, I feel this, I feel that, you know, you never just are like, I feel, it's like, you really, you know, emotions are energy in motion. They're a part of who we are, and they actually give us information. What works for us, what doesn't work for us, what brings us joy, which brings us down. And they change from moment to moment, depending on the thoughts we have. Remember, we're empaths. So we have a capacity to pick up everybody's thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And you might be feeling really high and happy, and all of a sudden, boom, you got to stop and ask, who does that belong to? Is that mine, somebody else's, or something else? That emotion that I'm feeling so strongly. And the actions, it depends also on the actions we're taking, on the environment we're in that we set ourselves up with, right? Is it nurturing? Is it not nurturing? Does it give you, what do you sense when you walk into your area that you've created for yourself? What do you sense? What are you aware of? What emotions are you aware of when you walk into, you know, I used to work in I just got all this download. I used to work for a modality in which I traveled from town to town or city to city, and sometimes I'd set up a booth depending on where it was, or I'd be speaking, and I'd always be aware when I walked in of the expectation, the emotion of expectation of people who were there to sell their stuff and hope that everything went well for their booth. And it was just a huge awareness for me walking in to clear all of that, just to be present with myself, what I was there for, who I was, pulling energetically in to talk with, and what that would create for me, for myself, for them, for the planet in greater. So be aware that you have a capacity to pick up everyone's thoughts, feelings, and emotions. It doesn't mean you have to take it on, right? And the food we eat, right? How many points of views do you have, or have you been implanted with, or have you been taught when you were very young about the emotion of food? Eat this, it'll make you happy. How many people eat food for the memory of happiness, the memory of mothering, the memory of nurturing? Hey, Galen! Mwah! Hi, sweetie. So if anyone asks me what exactly is emotional self-care, I would say it's something that allows you to achieve a level of sensation and awareness, and if you choose, sorrow or happiness, from within. From within. Right? Emotional self-care means to become aware of and identify what you're feeling, what you're aware of, what are you sensing, and then allow yourself to lean into the feelings in a way that honors yourself and your emotions. Now, we all know when we go down a rabbit hole and we're pissed off, or we're angry, or we have expectations that aren't being met, it doesn't actually create anything greater. Now, the universe is listening. Right? There's this something called the law of attraction. So if you're in an emotion that doesn't create greater for you, you're going to be attracting, you're telling the universe, I'll have more of this. This is the energy that I want to play with. Now, we experience hundreds of emotions and feelings throughout the day. And sometimes it's just like, right? So that's why we're playing with this class today, this motivational, transformational moment. Because while some of them might feel familiar, again, others might be elicited from other people. How many people are asking you to align and agree with them to honor their emotions, which has nothing to do with you, right? And so often this feels overwhelming, or we take on other people's emotions and we don't process them properly. And so that can feel depressed, overwhelmed, and what we need to do is to stop and say, oh, what information is this that this emotion is giving me? So we need to practice emotional self-care to lead a life of joy, of contentment. And it's especially important when you're going through a hard phase in your life, that this emotional self-care can help you center yourself and not be afraid to face all of the challenges that are coming up. Not repress them, not suppress them, not dump on someone else, right? We've all done that, hands up. But allow them to come to the surface and let them go. That's what emotional self-care is all about. It's allowing those emotions to come to the surface and let them go. Tap in, tune in, and then ask yourself, well, we're going to play right now with these 7 tips you can be asking yourself. Are you willing to become your own priority? So recognizing that no one can create your life except you. How do you do that? You say yes to you first. Yes to you first. And what you require. So that's often a tricky thing, I find, when somebody comes to me and is asking to work with me or to come to the Congruent Living Academy. I'll ask them, what is it that you want? What do you want? And a lot of people say, oh, I just want to be happy. And I'll ask, well, what is that? What's underneath there? How does that make you feel? What is it that you're asking for? Go out 6 months from now. And it's, for the most part, most people want to manifest a thing, like a dog, a car, money, a healthy body. They don't tap into how that will have them feel. Because again, your feelings are your emotions, which are energies in motion. And if you're not willing to go deeper, then you're going to just be confusing yourself, which sends mixed messages off to the universe and off to the law of attraction. It's like driving a car with one foot on the brake and one foot on the gas. I want this, but I'm not sure how it feels. So the universe is like, I'll come back later. Yeah. Anybody, before I go on with all these other tips, how is this working for people? Can I see a show of hands, a heart, a thumbs up? Anybody have any questions? As you can tell, I'm just diving right into this one. There's so many juicy bets to emotional self-care. Yeah. Again, if you're watching this later, press hashtag replay. And if you have a question, as often you do, write it right in here in our Congruent Living Facebook. And I promise I will come in and I will respond immediately. So, number one tip, become your own priority. Learn how to say yes to the emotions that would bring you joy, right? When you learn to tap in and tune in to what brings you joy. How do you do that? Sit for a minute, right? Sit. Be quiet with yourself. Give it 10 minutes. Ask yourself, okay, what would bring me joy in this situation? You're going through something that's difficult. You're the priority, not someone else, not the thing that you're trying to do. What would bring you joy? So tap into how that would truly feel. What's the emotion? Is it success, accomplishment, nurturing, feeling satisfied? Remember, your inner being is lining up with that emotion. The emotions of infiniteness. It's you, the outer being, that have decided there's a conflict here. The inner being is lining up with that success, that joy, that feeling accomplished. It's all here for you. Everything is here for you, and it's all working out. The second tip I have is honor your word to yourself in creating a life you truly love. That's a great question I'll ask myself when I find I'm going down a rabbit hole and I'm starting to feel crunchy. I'll ask myself, is this honoring my word to myself? So like this morning, I was up at 5, and I've been meditating at 5, and it just feels like so much more space. And I've been honoring my word to myself and creating with my body and moving it in a different way. And then I knew what was required for myself between the hours of like 8 and now. Writing the notes for this moment, making sure that Ricky had his lunch that was nutritionally, that he was happy with. That brings me joy. Right? And so there were all of these little moments that I calendared into my morning, and that was honoring my word to myself. I know we have the Congruent Living Academy tomorrow, and I'm going to be planning out the content. That's honoring my word to myself. It brings me joy. Knowing that I'm contributing to other people adds to my life and living. The feedback that I get from all of you and those of you who are in the Congruent Living Academy of how this is shifting and changing your life and your living and living a life you love adds to my joy in my life and living a life I love. And that only happens if you honor your word to yourself. And a question to ask is, does tapping into these emotions create more ease in where I'm asking to go in living a life that I love? Remember, to nurture your emotional self-care, you need to set not boundaries, but you need to be in total loving allowance of you honoring your word. Right? It's not about creating boundaries. It's about, if you're willing to honor your word, you won't answer that phone that's ringing while you're writing your notes. You know, honoring your word, what that requires. And then you honor that. And you, again, go back to our first one. Hey, Dorrit, welcome, welcome. Our first one is you are the priority. So you're a priority. Make yourself a priority. Honor your word to yourself. The third one is listen to your body. Right? When you start to recognize your body is your best advocate and lifelong friend, you'll notice it gives you signals as to what's your best path to create with more ease and joy. All of a sudden I was like, I'd like to have something to eat. And about half an hour ago, I was like, oh, body, what would you like? Can we have this and this in a smoothie? Absolutely. So we're going to be talking about the physical self-care next week. I just wanted to, that's tied in with your emotions. Your body is not separate from who you be. Right? You chose a body for an experience, as an infinite being. So it's about honoring that emotion of loving your body, playing with your body. Again, we'll be talking more about that one next week. The fourth, learn to forgive yourself. Listen to the way in which you talk to yourself. Be aware of your language, of every word we say. Every word we say has an energy to it. Emotion is energy in motion, right? And remember, just as I tapped into a few minutes ago, the law of attraction knows that there's the inner being and the one you're playing with right now. And remember, how you speak to yourself creates your reality. So be aware that that infinite being, you, that spark, that infinite intelligence would never criticize you, would never judge you. So when you find the way that you're talking to yourself is a way that's unforgiving of you, ask yourself again that question, who does that belong to? Is that mine? Where did I learn that from? Is it creating greater, more joy, more ease, and creating a life that I love? It's that simple. When times get hard, it's easy to blame yourself for everything or other people for everything. But emotional self-care encourages you, do not beat yourself up over any mistake. Because the truth is, we learn from everything. So it's about treating yourself with self-love and compassion and letting go of the past. I did the best I could with the tools I had. The past could be 10 seconds or it could be 10 years. I did the best I could with the tools I had. Remember, your inner critic, that subconscious, can hijack your emotions. So part of our self-care is to see our mistakes as learning opportunities. What did I just learn from this? Oh, wow. Because we create everything. Nothing's created for us. We create everything. So what if, as bizarre as it sounds, you created that so you could actually learn from it, right? Learning opportunities. We're human. We make mistakes. Wow, that was an interesting choice. Not my best. All right, now what else is possible? What else is possible? The fifth is learn to identify your emotions. Now, when you're caught up in a swirl of emotions, ask yourself, we've talked about this almost with every one of these tips. Who does that belong to? Who does that emotion belong to? Identify it. Is it mine? Have I picked it up from someone else? Again, as empaths, we have that amazing capacity to pick up everyone else's thoughts, feelings, and emotions. It's always good to ask the question, who does that belong to? Like the other day, I was looking for tiles. We're redoing one of our bathrooms in Vermont, and the tile place, one woman introduced me to another woman, and she said, oh, you wouldn't believe what Susan does. It's amazing. And this other woman gave me this huge hug, and it was just warm and embracing. And of course, I hugged her right back. And then I got in the car and I went home, and all of a sudden everything dipped. And I was like, oh, who does that belong to? And I realized none of it was mine. It was the person who gave me a hug was actually was willing to absorb my energy and transfer hers. And as soon as I realized that, I was like, okay, not mine. Change it up. And everything shifted. It's recognizing that emotion of just this downswell of going down a rabbit hole was not that question, does that create greater for me now, 6 months from now? Absolutely not. Is it adding to who I be? Absolutely not. And again, your infinite being is pure joy, is pure intelligence, is pure love. Remember that. Being that awareness is what creates greater. Yeah, thanks. Got a heart on that one. The last one is, as bizarre as it seems, we're told never to do that. Compliment yourself, right? Emotionally compliment yourself. When you compliment yourself, we acknowledge the worth we are to ourselves in our lives and living a life we love. So it's whether you want to say acknowledge yourself, have gratitude for yourself, compliment yourself. Sometimes I'll say, yeah, I'm the kind of person that, whatever that was. I'm the kind of person that just let that go. Oh, I'm the kind of person that trusted in the universe today. And look what this is creating. I'll have more of that. This and something greater, please. Always give yourself that acknowledgement when you complete a task. Smile to yourself in the mirror like you would smile to somebody else. Be your own best cheerleader. Be your own best emotional cheerleader. Because remember, a positive relationship with yourself keeps you motivated to stay strong. while all the storms pass on. And while you're learning to speak positively towards yourself, it's one of the most important self-care things you can do. Incorporating more gratitude in your life, it allows you to switch focus to the positive and to take control of whatever it is that you've decided is way beyond you, that you're feeling overwhelmed or depressed or lacking focus. Right? That's a big one. If you're willing to be grateful for the small things, it's a simple but powerful tool that can be practiced every day with long-lasting effect, I promise you. So whether it's gratitude journaling, a daily nighttime practice, some people do that of identifying at least 3 things that they're grateful for, that went well, that day was positive. So you're ending the day on a positive note. Some people journal in the morning to release their emotions and gain clarity. Having a healthy way to process your emotions is essential for self-care. And so whether that's talking to a friend, a partner, or a mentor or coach like myself, practicing meditation, going for a walk, bike riding, whatever that is, you have the capacity to shift everything every 10 seconds. You actually do. It's a choice. That's why this is congruent living for seekers and creators, living from choice. Right? It's a choice. Choice creates. And the last thing I can leave you with is, please choose to ask for help or get support from a coach or mentor like myself, someone you trust. Because to practice your emotional self-care, if you're finding it difficult, you need to be in the company of someone who understands your emotions and is there to support you. And a healthy support system will get you through all the hurdles of life. Trust me. They can even get you out of the rock bottom that you believe that you're in. So once again, taking care of your emotions isn't limited to your own effort, and asking for help is not a weakness. So if things are a bit hard, ask the people around you for assistance, change and shift up your environment. Be amazed how sharing your burdens will do wonders for your emotional health. And again, there's always the option to talk to someone like myself, a transformational mindset coach, if you feel things are like way too much. In fact, it's probably one of the best emotional self-care things that you can do, especially if you've been feeling low for a long time. Remember this, you deserve to be treated well, especially by yourself. Never doubt the importance of simply being alone, spending time to process your feelings, to ask the questions that we've been talking about, and ask for help when it's needed. It's paramount. You create your life, no one else does. Now, before we close this up, questions, anything popping for people, any big takeaways? I know I've been going on it for a while. I wanted to get, Nona, thank you so much for coming in with your question for today. I wanted to get those tips in, because sometimes people are saying, okay, I get emotional self-care, Susan, I just don't get the how, right? Oh, I've got a thumbs up, yay, fantastic, yeah. And again, if you're watching this later and you have questions, come on in with those questions. I check in every day. And I'm so grateful for all of you showing up from all around the world. I know we have such a big international audience. And if there's something special that you have a question about in self-care, write it in. And if you want it to be private, private message me. But when we write a question in here, it actually opens up everything for everyone, because there's not one question, I promise you, there's not one question that you can be thinking that isn't going on in someone else's head. So I will love you and leave you. I'll see you next week with part 3 of our series, physical self-care. I already started it this week. And yeah, I'm so grateful for all of you. Really, really. This is hard work, right? We're not taught when we're little. We're taught somebody else is going to care for us and care about us. We're not taught about self-care. We're not taught about emotional self-care. We're taught which emotions are approved of and which emotions are not approved of. But no one ever brings us to the point of asking us, so what are you aware of? What are you sensing? How do you feel about that? Yeah. So I'm asking you, step in, tap into these 7 tips and let me know which ones pop for you. I'm always interested in what's going on in your life and in you living a life you love with true choice. Until we meet again, live boldly, love greatly, and be that fearless leader you came here to be, because the world needs more of you and that special sauce, not less. Bye-bye.